Hello everyone and welcome to my 2023 year in review, my top 10 films of 2023. This year has flown by. This year has flew by. And I know I said during the last video that I would make more videos not style, and then I ended up just never making a list video again. But this year, there were some banger films. I also have to preface that, oh, don't look at that. There is a spoiler behind me right now, and I am in a position where if I move, you see it. So don't look. But yeah, I have to preface something before I start the video. There are a lot of movies I really wanted to see this year that in the place where I live have just not come out yet. And I'm literally planning on seeing them next week, but I didn't want to wait until New Year's to film this video. So I'm going to name those movies that I think would definitely have made this list if I'd seen them right off the bat. So that would be American Fiction, Iron Claw, Zone of Interest, and Anatomy of a Fall. There are some other films that I'm planning on watching this week that I don't think would make the favorites list, but I wanted to in some way talk about them, which is Beau is Afraid, Infinity Pool, Royal Hotel, Blackberry, Fair Play, The Killer, Oppenheimer, and Killers of a Flower Moon. So those are movies I probably would have wanted to talk about in some capacity, or maybe would have made the favorites list, but I just ended up not seeing them this year. This year, for some reason, I just didn't go to the movies as often. I don't know what was up, but hopefully in the future that doesn't happen again. But there are a lot of movies that I want to talk about today, and so that's what I'm gonna do. And my last thing I'm gonna preface before we start the list is, you may have noticed, I'm wearing an LMU sweater. I got an LMU as a film major, and so I'm actually qualified to talk about these movies because I'm going into that for a study. So Carson Brunquist better get off my back because I'm also studying film now. No, it's not that serious. I'm not even good at talking about movies, but that's what I'm gonna do today. So, okay. First is our number 10 spot, which is Barbie.
Ideas live forever.
Barbie got a lot of hype this year with the whole Barbenheimer of it all. I am on the Barbie end of the shtick. I ended up not watching Oppenheimer yet. I haven't really seen any Christopher Nolan films. Please get off my back. I'm sorry about it. Barbie, on the other hand, I love, and it was made just for me, and I love Barbie. I love Greta Gerwig. She's one of my favorite directors. Duh. She is just a really cool director that I insanely admire. I really enjoy the way that feminism is presented in her films as a thing that she can shine lights on the happy, whimsical, girly girl side of it, but also display how there's an unspoken, sad aspect of being a woman. And she likes to always display that. It's very notable in Little Women, Lady Bird, and in Barbie. I really enjoyed Barbie. I would say my only critique for it is the fact that weirdly the parts that I thought were the funniest were things that didn't even involve Barbie. It kind of ended up being Ken-centered, which is not what I assume it intended to do, and weirdly that's kind of what the movie spoke against. So I think that was kind of odd. But other than that, I love the movie. I love the cinematography. I love how fun it feels. It truly feels like you're playing with your Barbies whenever we step into that Barbie land. I love Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling's performances, and I love Michael Cera's performance as Alan. Are you kidding? That is the standout for me in that film. But yeah, I really love what that movie was doing. I think it was insanely fun, and that soundtrack was great. It really brought back, I think, what Greta was trying to do, which she's explained in some interviews, is kind of give that feel of like an early 2000s fun time movie, which I really enjoyed and admired. So yeah, Barbie was super fun, and I would definitely recommend it. Number 9 is Past Lives. Past Lives is the most recent watch on this list for me. I literally watched it like yesterday, so I'm very fresh in my mindset of this movie. Past Lives was so sweet. It was such a condensed, sweet story that could have even like been set up as like a play or like a short novel. All of the events are very concise, and it's just such a nice story. It wraps up so well. It really hit me at the end. Like when the credits started to roll, that's when I started sobbing. I feel like I just needed a minute to like think the entire story through and then just started bawling my eyes out. It's very relatable in his presentation of a relationship and longing for the future of a relationship. And all of that to say, I just thought it was a beautiful movie and I really enjoyed it. But number 8 is... Every year, I really like to seek out horror films. Horror films are extremely important to me and one of my favorite genres. But this year, Talk to Me was just the standout. I have so rarely seen a movie that has such a like simple concept that is so relatable to past horror slasher campy films with like a bunch of teens going in a room and doing some challenge or something, but flips that trope on the top of its head immediately as it's introduced. And every character feels like they are lived in. Nobody feels like they're just like made to be killed. And so they all truly feel like you care about them in some way. The scenes were all presented in such interesting ways, especially that montage scene that became so infamous from this movie. And it's always so inspiring to see YouTubers create films. I've also realized recently that comedians create some of the best horror movies because I think they have that sense of like dark humor that they can put into the movies, and I just really admired that. But yeah, that's a great movie. I love Talk to Me. I think it's a wonderful film. So number 7 is...
I don't think I'll ever go home again.
Saltburn. So Saltburn is getting a lot of traction right now, and I can completely understand why. But I also don't understand why, because what it's getting traction for is being like insanely risque when Poor Things came out like 2 weeks later. So it's fine though. I love Saltburn. I think it is so gaudy and like big, but also in a way where the kind of simple underlying story still feels like it's very prominent and featured. I really, really love the performances. Barry Keoghan needs to take the Oscar this year. If it wasn't for Killing of a Sacred Deer and Banshees of Inisherin, he's gotta get it this year. I love this man and he needs some. This was truly Jacob Elordi's year, and he did such a phenomenal job in this movie. Great heartthrob of a guy. And of course I love Carey Mulligan and Richard E. Grant, and I love Rosamund Pike, and they all did such a great job in this movie. Emerald Fennell is presenting herself as such a promising, wink wink, director. I love her, and I really love her style and what she's doing. I think something that I see a lot of people have as an issue for this movie is the idea of a rich director who was born into money making a film about eating the rich and class struggle, which, you know, there's always going to be commentary from somebody who is the one being commented on. I do get that. I do understand that. But, you know, movies like The Menu and Triangle of Sadness have the same kind of thing and were great. So, I don't know. That's a whole thing. But also, I love this movie and I love the MGMT music drop. I also love Murder on the Dance Floor. So, yeah, it's great. It's a great movie. My number 6 is
Sanctuary. The safe word is sanctuary!
Do you even know why you're doing this, or is this just the game?
Yes.
Sanctuary. So this is a film I didn't hear like anyone talk about this year, but it means a lot to me. So I thought I would talk about it. Sanctuary is the first movie I saw in theaters alone. I really like to go to movies with a group of people or with like my best friend or my father or my mom and see a movie with them so I can have somebody to comment on it with and talk to about afterwards. But I saw this movie alone, and what a weird movie to see alone. It really felt like a play, and I've realized, especially this year, I'm super into movies that just feel like plays. And I really liked that this movie did that. You were in one setting from beginning to end, and you just saw the elevation of that setting just because of the actors and the way that their characters moved. And it was super interesting to me. Having these two powerhouses of performers, Margaret Qualley and Christopher Abbott respectively, be in the same movie together was absolutely insane. I love Christopher Abbott, if you didn't know. I've talked about it 2 years in a row now, I think. But Christopher Abbott, I got to meet him this year when I went to go see a play that he was in called Danny and the Deep Blue Sea with Aubrey Plaza, and he was phenomenal, and I love him so much as an actor, and just like seeing him act live was crazy. So just to preface, seeing him in this movie was insane. Like I love this movie, and he's so good in it. Please watch everything he's in. He's extremely underrated in my point of view, and I need him to get more roles. I love how this film was stylized. It was kind of like this smooth jazz in the background as a score, and these very colorful transitions. It was strangely endearing in that way. And it had an unexpected ending for a piece like this, which I really enjoyed. I just think everything about this movie was so interesting to me, and I really recommend. Please go check it out, I say. My number 5 is Poor Things. Oh my lord, I love Poor Things. I might just straight up read my review for this one. That's on Letterboxd. Go check out my Letterboxd. It's Neely the Movie Kid. I would like to give it to the amazing design of this film. It looks flawless. Every backdrop, every costume, it just looks amazing. There was clearly so much thought put in every breath of this film. The performances were great, which is extremely aided by the fact that every character felt anything but one note immediately as they're introduced. Their presence amplifies their character and performance, but huge standouts to me are Mark Ruffalo, who was insane in this role. I'm so glad he broke out of Marvel, because this kind of stuff he is perfect for, and it was amazing to see this performance. Emma Stone was outstanding, how she immersed herself in the character, and in the span of 2 hours went from playing a 1-year-old to a 30-year-old, mentally and also in physicality, was insane. And I'm always going to bring up Christopher Abbott. Even in a role so small like this, he does so much. I love him. And everybody else is just great. It's a phenomenal star-studded cast, and they each pulled their weight. The score was so haunting. The cinematography was masterful. And that is the movie I think we should be talking about right now, and not Saltburn, because crazy, crazy movie. Number 4 is
Could the ugly, untalented gays please report to the principal's office?
Guess that's you guys.
Bottoms. Bottoms is a really unexpected number 4 if you don't know me, but if you know me, you're like, okay, yeah, I understand. I love Bottoms. It takes the hilarity and absurdity of modern film and also mixes it with all those like raunchy sex comedies of the past, which I love so much, and also takes it back by making females the lead of it rather than the males that it kind of not only objectifies but also comments on throughout the movie, in both commenting on like masculinity and also like it kind of did what Barbie did with the whole concept of Ken, but it sadly came out like right after Barbie, so people didn't perceive it in the same way. But the way that the footballers are perceived in this movie is super funny and interesting to me. But I love it. It's just so fun and campy, and everything it does is insanely hilarious to me. Emma is one of my favorite directors working today. I love Shiva Baby, and I'm so excited to see whatever she does. And this whole cast is just like filled with young actors that I'm so excited to see grow and evolve. Like Rachel Sennett and Ayo Edebiri are phenomenal in this movie, and I'm so excited to see them keep acting and doing what they do. But yeah, I highly recommend Bottoms. That's a super duper fun movie. My number 3
This is your Rubicon. Do not cross the Rubicon. The Holdovers.
is The Holdovers. I love The Holdovers so much. Wait, I'm gonna get water really quick. Don't look at my poster. I love The Holdovers so dearly. It's such a sweet, sweet little movie. I sobbed like the entire ending of that movie, like as a through line, and I've never felt so comforted by a film. It felt so poignant and so beautiful, so faithful to the films that it was paying homage to, and the soundtrack was such a huge standout to me. Any film that's gonna have the wind in it is automatically gonna be a favorite to me. The lead performances were both so beautiful to witness, and Mary's actress did such a phenomenal job. It gave me all the Dead Poets Society feels, and I just loved it. It's just such a sweet film, and like, I don't know, it's so beautiful, and it takes its time with what it wants to do. And it's one of those like mundane day in the life films that they would have made in the 70s. In every aspect that it pays homage to it, it just like hits it out of the park, and I really love it. My number 2.
Did I say yes?
You didn't say anything.
I meant yes. My mouth didn't speak.
Asteroid City. I love Wes Anderson so much. So to put it into words, I just think it's a very creative feat what Wes Anderson does with humor. The way that he has the perfect setup for a joke with dry dialogue, and then the punchline comes booming in, and the payoff is so earned and delightful. Theater and films are two of my favorite things in the world, so seeing them collide for this beautiful movie that is so gorgeously color graded and perfectly acted was amazing. I intensely enjoyed the bits with the alien, as well as characterizing the actors that are portraying the people in the play, and then going back to the actual play, kind of creating a circular narrative around both plot lines. I think that is something that Wes Anderson does beautifully in the way that he creates characters that makes them so memorable, and I just love it. I think it's such a great time. And I also like the color grading. When I first saw the trailer for the movie, the color grading really worried me. It's super overly saturated, and it kind of looked like an Instagram filter had been put on it, and that kind of stressed me out because the crisp color grading that was in his previous film, French Dispatch, just looks so much better to me. So I was a little worried about that, but then I saw it and it felt like it was needed. It felt like in the whimsical space that it took place in, that switch between black and white and this oversaturation just really made sense. And then my number one film of this year that everyone is going to give me guff for. First, I'm going to explain myself. First, I'm going to make an apology video. So, last year, I had the popular vote. I said Everything Everywhere All at Once, and everyone got very excited because that was the best film of the year. You can't argue. And it won Best Film of the Year, because fun fact, it was. But this year, I have a controversial take. And I know this won't be winning any Oscars. I know that it is its own thing. But I love it. And that's what matters to me. My favorite film of the year is Theater Camp.
It's art.
Minor housekeeping issue. Whoever stole my CBD gummies, please return that. I'm pretty sure I know who it was.
I love Theater Camp. Theater Camp, honestly, pushed out, if you guys don't know, Social Network is my favorite movie. It kind of pushed out Social Network because this film is everything that I love. I love theater, and I love the feeling of being this theater kid that is so in love with their craft. And when I first watched this movie, I was in the middle of directing a musical, and I got to see those actors be so heavily involved with theater all day and be so joyful that they were about to present this to an audience. And seeing that and then watching this movie just made me so joyful. You can so clearly tell that everyone involved loves theater and loves this film so much. and it just meant so much to me. I love all of the actors. Their comedic timing is absolutely outstanding. I loved the original music at the end of the movie. I still listen to that album constantly. It's so hilarious. Like, even if you're not involved in theater, this film is absolutely hilarious to watch. Maybe even more so. But I just love it. I love that it kind of comments on every aspect of being part of the theater. And I just think it's so fun, and it's exactly what I wanted it to be. A lot of films that I saw this year that I was overly anticipating ended up not being exactly what I wanted them to be, but Theater Camp really filled that for me. At the start of this year, I was like, oh, Barbie's taking the #1 spot. I know it will. I love Greta Gerwig, and I know this is gonna be the best movie. But Theater Camp blew me away. So if you haven't watched Theater Camp, go watch Theater Camp. I know it will probably not be your favorite film of the year. I don't think it's most people's favorite film of the year, but I love it so much, and I think it's so beautiful to me, and it means a lot. So even though this isn't going to be Best Picture of 2023, it's my Best Picture of 2023. So yeah, that's it for the video. I will continue to watch more movies and hopefully have more knowledge of the film industry by the time I make my 2024 wrapped video. Now that I will be a film major. And I would like to thank you guys for all the support on the 2022 video. That was so kind of you. All of your love being centered in that. And also, if you're new to the channel or if you came from last year's video, go check out the short films I've made on my channel. One of them got me into LMU, which is very cool and rewarding. And I recommend you guys checking them out, especially if you're interested in my takes on the film industry or such. I talk about some of those things, or I feature some of those aspects in the films that I make. So yeah, and thank you so much, and I hope you all have a wonderful 2024.